Yeah. Um, you know what? It's a good question. It's funny. You know, there was I don't really know how it happened. You know, it was one of those conversations that in college football that happened, I think, outside of kind of coach's control. Was all of a sudden, you know, we're saying, okay, now we're going to stop. We're not going to stop the clock after first downs. You know, to me, one of the things that made college football very unique and very different was if you were down 21 points in the fourth quarter, you could rally because, you know, if some team was playing prevent defense and you were throwing the ball and you know you're getting 10 yards consistently, that clock would stop, and it gave you an opportunity to really rally your team from a pretty significant deficit. Whereas now, I think it's much more difficult to do that. That to me is something that was really never talked about or discussed. You know, I don't know if they want the games to be shortened. There's a lot of other things they could do to shorten the games. I mean, starting with reviews and reducing the number of reviews and the time allowed for reviews and without changing the game itself. So, like a lot of stuff with the NCAA, number one, I'm not sure where it came from. And number two, I'm not sure that it was discussed really at a high level. And number three, I'm not sure that anybody looked at the unintended consequences of it. And so I think that's kind of been my history when it comes to the NCAA and decisions that they make through the years is, you know, there's sometimes a knee-jerk reaction to a problem that could be solved in a lot different manner. I mean, look, man, we're going to work hard no matter what. Our players are going to work hard no matter what, whether you're picked 12th or whether you're picked first. These guys invest so much time and so much work, and I mean, our guys are up at 4:30 in the morning, 300 days a year. You know, and just not that many people, and no matter what they do, put in the kind of hours and work that our players put in. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. And so, you know, I don't know that they care that much about those kind of things. Probably some people do, and you know, I know Tom Brady always talked about being disrespected, and you know, and how that fueled him, and you know, I've never needed that really to fuel me, but everybody's different, and so some guys I'm sure will use it, and other guys could care less.
Typically, a team that goes to the national championship game isn't fifth in the
is
in the top 25, much less in their own conference. Is that surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit. Yeah, and I think, you know, I mean, it does give you a certain level of, you know, well, why would people not believe in our program, you know, but at the same time, you got to not worry about it. I mean, it's not going to change the way I work or the way I approach anything. And I think that's the good thing is about our profession. And what's fun about being a football coach is, and we talked about this all the time, you know, as we were winning games last fall, you know, we said, hey, look, congratulations, you know, you met your quota. Guess what happens? Your quota gets raised. And that's the way the world works. And that's the way it works in our business, you know. You win 7 games and the quota gets raised. Now it's 8 games. You win 8 games and it's all of a sudden, hey, look, we expect to be 12-0. Well, then you're 12-0 and you lose the Big 12 championship and you're like, well, that's a real disappointment. And so it's like anything, that's what you want. You want high expectations and you know, but at the same time you do, you know, you do want reasonable expectations.
Do you think part of that's the new starters or the changing of maybe the old guard with that team?
Yeah, maybe so. And I think just the unknown, you know what I mean? I think sometimes when you do lose 8 players to the NFL draft, you go, well, you lost a quarterback and you lost all this production. And so I certainly understand it. I mean, I get it. And just like last year, I was honestly surprised we were picked 7th. I figured it would be 9th or 10th, you know, last year just based on, you know, what we had coming back and a coaching change and all that stuff. So, you know, like I said, I don't put too much stock in all that.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Coach, what's your thoughts on Chandler? He looked more loose this spring compared to last spring, and how's he been this summer?
Yeah, I think that's really kind of hitting the nail on the head. I mean, to me, you know, he's more settled right now than he has been in the past, and more confident. I think having a chance to watch Max last year, you know, I think it probably taught him, look, I don't have to go out there and win every game. You know, I have a really good supporting cast. Those guys can help me win. I don't need to make big plays all the time. You know, the big plays will take care of themselves. You know, I don't need to, trying to do too much. And I think that was what Max did such a good job of, is he kind of let the game come to him, and then when a play needed to be made, he had an opportunity or an ability rather, to make it at a critical time. And so I think Chandler sat back and watched all that. I think he's confident in what we're doing offensively. I think he's confident in our personnel. I think he's probably more confident in himself now. And the biggest thing that a quarterback can learn sometimes is, it's not bad to punt. Punting is not that bad sometimes. And just kind of developing that mentality and understanding that. And it's been hard. It's been a process for me to understand that as a coach. You know what I mean? As an offensive guy for so many years, if we didn't score every possession, it was the end of the world. And now, as a head coach and a little bit older and a little bit more seasoned, you learn that, hey, look, we just got to figure out a way to win. It doesn't matter if it's 3-0 or 70-63. Let's just figure out how to win.
Last year there was almost an agreement early on that the offensive line was kind of the group standing
Yep.
out. I'm
Yep.
curious, has there been a position group that's kind of done that so far this summer?
Well, I think in a weird sort of way, it's probably the offensive line again. We've added some, but we have 2 returning tackles that I think are 2 of the better tackles in our league and some of the better guys in the country. And those guys are confident. We've been able to add some pieces in the middle, some big, strong, physical guys. And so I think our offensive line could be another strength of the team again. That's my hope. Really, any good football team is going to have a really good offensive line. I think those 2 things go hand in hand. That's where it starts. And it makes the quarterback's job easier when you can hand the ball off and you don't have to be perfect all the time. And so there's just so much that goes into that. But I really like our defensive backs. That's a unit that we didn't have a lot of depth last year. We have a ton of depth at corner now, probably 7-8 guys we feel pretty good about. We have really athletic safeties. Guys can run. They got experience. They've played in big games. I'm excited about that safety group. So probably to me the backside of the defense, and then really like the linebackers as well. A lot of guys that have played a lot of football and played at a high level, and different kinds of guys. Guys that can run and guys that are physical and smart and understand our system. And so it's, to me, those are the 2 groups probably that have stood out as much as any over the stuff I've seen over the summer.